Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to another astrology video. This week, I'm going to be talking about Uranus in Gemini and take you on a tour through the houses to give you a little bit of a thumbnail impression as to what you can expect for your rising sign and this introductory tour of Uranus in Gemini that we're going to get between July and November. The reason I'm doing it now is that this week, the week beginning January 27, is that Uranus is going to station direct in the sign of Taurus at 23 degrees. And so even though Uranus is going to be making the rest of its way through Taurus from late January through to early July, I think we're really going to start to see the quickening of what Uranus in Gemini is going to bring. Yes, we only get it for 4 months this year, and it's only going to hit 0 and 1 degree of Gemini, but I think it's going to come in with a bit of a bang. And I'm going to take you through the houses so you can start to prepare for some of the dramatic shifts and changes that's going to be happening for all of us somewhere in our birth charts and AKA our lives. Before I get into that, though, I have noticed in the comments on some of my videos that it might have been more to do with the horoscopes I've done for every sign of 2025, where some people are wanting more guidance or assistance in what the houses mean. There's two ways you can do that. Is through the Golden Circle Club. So part of signing up for your membership there, it's Australian dollars, $18 a month, 167 a year. So it's super cheap if you are in the US with the exchange rate. But there's a whole bunch of beginner resources, some of which is a beginner's workshop, which takes you through the 101s of astrology, helping you get a grasp on your houses and some of their fundamental meanings. And two, if you want to go deeper into the meanings of the houses as more than just the basics, I'll pop a link below. I am releasing some of the recorded classes from my contemporary astrology program where you can take a deep dive into the houses and start to get to understand what the houses actually mean, not just from a basic level, but also a deeper and more of a spiritual level as well. In short, the houses are taking portions of the sky, bringing it down to earth, and giving it meaning. And so when we have planets, whether it's the monthly tour of the moon or this very, very rare introduction of Uranus and Gemini, you're going to get a sense of what that's going to mean for you. So with all that being said, let us get into Uranus in Gemini. I know I'm personally really excited for this one. I kind of can't wait. So this week it's going to, as I said, it's going to station 23 Taurus. Therefore, it's just going to be moving through that sign and heading into Gemini. So it's only a brief tour, as I've already mentioned, but I think because we've already got Jupiter in Gemini up until June, the area of life that is going to be changed, not transformed in terms of a Pluto transit, but sort of disrupted and changed, is already being explored in terms of Jupiter in Gemini. So, at least for the Aussie dates, it's going to first ingress into Gemini on July 7. It's probably going to be July 6 in the US, in the Northern Hemisphere. I've not checked that. And it will stay there until November 8. So, we're going to get 4 months of this quick, novel, exciting, and very, very fast energy of Uranus in Gemini. It's going to be a very stark contrast from Uranus in Taurus, which first arrived, I think it was May to November of 2018, returned in March of 2019, been there ever since. So this year, July to November, we're getting a sneak peek or a preview or like a trailer to a movie that won't be fully released until April 26. I think it's April 25 in the north, 2026. That's when we get that full movie release, which is basically a 7-year movie. But we're getting the preview or the trailer this year. So before I start to explore the houses with you, let's just take a bit of a look of who Uranus is. Particularly if you're a bit newer to astrology and you've not experienced an ingress or a sign change of Uranus, because let's face it, it's been since 2019. A lot has changed since then. So Uranus is it's described as an agent of change. Anything that's new, unique, different, outside of the box, a little bit unexplored is what Uranus brings to the table. It's a disruptive type of planet, so it's a very yang influence. It's a bit of a cosmic slap in the face. Like you just cannot escape the feeling of a Uranus transit. I think it would be very rare that you would experience, particularly maybe a conjunction, a square, an opposition to a one of your personal planets, especially from Uranus, where you're not going to feel its significations. So as it moves through Gemini, it's going to be the mutable signs who are going to get these hard hits from Uranus in Gemini. So Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. So if you have planets or angles in any of those signs, you're going to be receiving a Uranus transit over the next 7 years. However, if you've got degrees from like 0 or 1, you'll experience the first sensations of Uranus this year. That being said, though, we usually find in astrology, particularly with these outer planets, that it's the ingress that feels really jolting, especially in the case of Uranus. So even if you don't have those very, very early degree placements of Gemini, all our houses, wherever Gemini is for you, is going to start to get those Uranus vibes and become activated. Whenever I think of Uranus, I know I'm like a teenager of the 90s, but I always think of the Smashing Pumpkins song, Despite All My Rage, I Am Still Just a Rat in the Cage. And that's just that sort of, there's a lot of restlessness that comes with Uranus when you want to be free or liberated or released from any sort of stuck or stagnant patterns. Sometimes there's a process involved. So you might get that bolt of lightning or that sudden spark of inspiration or that desire to change or do something different or to be liberated or free in some area of your life or experience radical newness. You can't just go from one position to the next overnight. Of course, there are opportunities, some scenarios, of course, where that may happen, but it's usually a process. And as we think about what Uranus is going to do in 2025, well, we're in Taurus now, July to November, Uranus, and then from November to April, back to Taurus. So it is going to be this rat in a cage where you just get that taste of change, of liberation, freedom, of excitement, speed, and pace, because Gemini is a lot quicker than Taurus. And then we go back to that kind of slow, stagnant, risk averse energy of Taurus. So if you what is it, Bullet with Butterfly Wings, if you know it, and that's the song, of course, if you don't. Uranus wants to shake things up, it shakes up the status quo. It wants to bring revolutions and change and just kind of, flip up the chessboard and see where the pieces land. Uranus also reminds me of the quote that not all storms come to disrupt you, some come to clear your path. And I think that can be very good medicine for a Uranus transit because while it can feel quite unsettling and especially in Gemini, quite anxiety inducing, it can be really helpful to know that while the process of change may not always be comfortable, the end result is usually pretty sweet. So, because what Uranus wants to do essentially is to rewrite the rules, to do things differently, to bring you authenticity, new ways of doing things that can help sort of break off the shackles of the old ways of doing things. and it really seeks to individuate. So if you have been, NPC or following narratives or going with the flow too much, or as we would say in Australia, she'll be right, mate. Uranus is going to really bring in some quick innovation and change. And of course, that's going to be with all the Gemini stuff, uh, digital, online, social media. Gemini is a very youthful sign, so it will, I think the anti-aging stuff that will come out, the science and technologies, biohacking, it's just going to be next level. Think of the mad scientist when it comes to the area of your life ruled by Gemini. You're invited here to experiment. Even if you don't know what the outcome is, you don't know what it looks like, but unless you have a go, you'll never, never know. Again, another Australian quote if you're familiar with the Northern Territory ad. Um, even though it's if you never, never go, you'll never, never know, but you'll get the gist if you're an Aussie. So sometimes it's a case of, the idea of just throw 10 things at the wall, see what sticks. The idea of experimentation isn't about trying one new thing and going, okay, this is the thing. You might have to go back and reevaluate. Maybe get some peer reviews, or maybe look at things and take stock and think to yourself, well, I got this far in the change, but maybe there's more to come or there's more to do. Now, change is hard in the sign of Taurus, very hard. I do feel it's going to be a hell of a lot easier in the sign of Gemini. The problem is with Gemini, the changes are going to be so quick, so fast paced. It's going to be hard to keep your feet on the ground, keeping in mind that the sign of Gemini is the winged messenger. But still, something needs to stick. We can't just endlessly change, change, change and not sort of grow roots in something. So that's something to keep in mind too. There's going to be a lot of restlessness, I think, particularly if you are going to receive some significant Jupiter hit, sorry, not Jupiter hits, Uranus hits in this early phase, but of course for all of us with mutable placements. The restlessness doesn't, like, there can be these external happenings or events that can kind of prompt or evoke changes. So, it could be a relationship change, a job change, a change in your living situation, external event that makes you then encourages you to then sort of do the internal work. But the restlessness that you most often feel with Uranus is the inner restlessness, that when we need change, we need something different, we need something new, we need something unique, but we can't connect the dots, in a sense that something has to give, something has to change, but you're just not sure what. You're just not sure what. So that's going to be something to be mindful of as we, approach July, which probably will come around a whole lot faster than any of us would like to admit. But before we even really think about Uranus, one of the beautiful things with the method of the astro madness right now is not only is 2025 a very big preview of the outer planetary transits, we also get the preview of Uranus in Gemini through Jupiter. So there is an area of your life that you're already being expanded, where curiosity, novelty, and newness, where maybe you're having to explore the multiplicity of options and possibilities and opinions, as opposed to just one idea or one truth or whatever that might mean for you with Jupiter. So wherever you're currently being expanded or pushed into new ideas, new possibilities, wherever it's a bit of a madhouse in your life right now with Jupiter and Gemini, is going to be the area that's just going to have that dial turned right up to 11 once we get Uranus there. Mark my words. So, do you take the blessings and the benefit of Jupiter and Gemini? What do you need to learn? What do you need to grow more curious about? Where do you need to seek maybe alternate opinions, different opinions? Where do you need a twin in your life to bounce off or to get new ideas around? Jupiter in Gemini is a very kind of busy sign, but it's not about activity. We want to try and focus on achievement. So the idea of Uranus in Gemini, sorry, Jupiter in Gemini is kind of paving the pathway here. So if you're already seeing some resistance or in a bit of crazy town in your Gemini house, do try and get some balance back. Jupiter is the great unifier that wants cohesion and balance and the idea of all tides raise all boats. So for some of us, that might actually mean there's an area of life that's too expanded, too busy, too fragmented, and we have to somehow bring that Jupiter wholeness back before that fractional separative, volatile energy of Uranus comes in. Another key point with Uranus in Gemini is that if you are born between these dates, February 18 of 1981 through to the 21st of March, so just about a month there in 1981, and again from the 17th of November 1981 to May 28 of 1988, and then again from December 31 of 1988, you are going to have a Uranus opposition. So loosely, if you're born from anywhere between 1981 to 1988, you were born with Uranus in Sagittarius. And so you're going to be going through that midlife transit of what's known as the Uranus opposition. One of my favorite transits that happens in midlife. And so that's really going to help you really reach authenticity, individuation, and newness in a particular area of your life. So let's get into the houses now to give you a bit of an idea of what all this means. So if you're born Aries rising, it's going to be a third house transit for you. If you've been following my work for a while, you know I love a good third, ninth house transit. They are very underrated houses, and I think they need more love. So when we think about the third house for the Aries rising, it's going to be a exploration of a variety of curiosities. So we already got Jupiter and Gemini. So think about, where are you expanding your ideas? Maybe it's to do with communication, local experiences, your neighborhood, your siblings, cousins, and as a stretch, even those friends you've got who are like sisters or brothers to you. This is going to be an area of life where you're going to need some freshness, newness, and excitement in your day-to-day routines. So if you are very busy in your day-to-day routines right now with Jupiter, but you're kind of exhausted, you might need to figure out with Uranus this year from July to November how you are going to invigorate that space. How are you going to bring some newness and freshness to that area of your life? You might see changes in your local surrounds. So you might choose that. So you might change neighborhoods, move house, move to a different place. Or it might happen to the current neighborhood you're in. Maybe they build new houses around you. Maybe the quality of your neighborhood changes. Things are shifting, moving, or developing rapidly. Study is also a possibility. So if right now you're exploring a variety of options in terms of weekend workshops or online learning, then once Uranus moves in there, you might sort of go, right, this is the thing I'm doing. And, again, it's going to be experimentation. So if you're thinking about, podcasting, blogging, substacking or creating a YouTube video or something like that, YouTube channel rather. Um, New technologies are going to really help you if you're wanting to get your message out there in some way, shape, or form. So a third house Uranus transit would be a great idea if you have a podcast or something of those lines where you might like to explore putting your message out there. Now, if you are a Taurus rising, I should have got the chart up. I might just do that actually. Why not? I'll get the chart up for you. So where are we? I'm going to just move this here. So we get to about July. All right. So we'll get that back to where we're up to Taurus. So that way you'll just get a bit of a view of that rather than looking at me the whole time, me looking at myself, which is another thing altogether. All righty. So Taurus rising. So it's going to second house transit. So this is quite a significant one. Firstly, I think having Uranus leave your first house for the first time in 7 years is going to bring you, firstly, some relief, some um, just a break, catch your breath again, and give you time to reflect on what's been since 2018, 2019, and what you've learned. You know, what changes have you embraced? What's been painful? What's been hard? And what's been a blessing as well? So, all those experiences, all those changes, all those disruptions, some pleasant, some not, some through personal choice, and some have happened to you. Um, take all of that, amalgamate it all, take all that authenticity, all that liberation, all that I know who I am now, and then filter that down into the second house. So, what does that mean? To bring in your own abundance and prosperity in whatever way, shape, or form that takes for you. So there's an adaptability. You're a Taurus rising, so you're fixed in nature. But when it comes to money being ruled by Mercury, or ruled by Gemini at least, in the housing, just the way the houses work, um, it's about being adaptable, being willing to change, being willing to take a little bit of a risk too when Uranus goes there. So try new things when it comes to money. And that could take a variety of possibilities. Look at whatever your current circumstances are when it comes to cash flow, earning, spending, saving, all those things. And whatever the status quo is in that respect, change it. Okay. And this is your period of time, July to November, to start exploring what that might look like. So now I would recommend using Jupiter to learn, discover, and expand wisdom when it comes to money. Then so for example, you may not have ever invested money before into the stock market or bought shares, what have you. So this might be a period of time when you start, learning about doing that, and then come into July and then you make your first purchase, try a bit of this, try a bit of that, see where your comfort zone lies and where you're willing to go beyond that. You might decide that, you're done with working for other people, and Uranus coming into your second house is going to bring freedom around the way that you earn money. So maybe you want to move into the gig economy, freelance, become self-employed. I would expect some disruptions to money in general, so that those disruptions can be great. It could really shake up your financial life, but it's not going to be stable. So there might be some highs, there might be some lows. So planning for that would be wise. Um, Whichever way, shape, or form, there's this sense of taking a little bit of risk with your money. And that's not to be frivolous or carefree. It's just going beyond whatever's comfortable for you. If you are very, not clued into money, it's going to be learning about it and then taking some action around it once Uranus comes in. So there is this sense about maybe making money on your terms, attracting abundance on your terms and being less reliant on the man or whoever is currently paying your wages, so to speak. So just think outside the box when it comes to cash flow, sustenance, and how you earn. For some people, that might mean, growing a garden. So you have to spend less money or less reliant on the system. It might even be prosperity in terms of your mental health and your ideas, taking back control of your own mind, your own thoughts, and things to do with around inner confidence. And when we think about abundance and prosperity, money is the low-hanging fruit here, but it's as important as it is. But it can also be around authenticity with how you earn, and how you attract money as well. So it just changes in that whole sphere. But when you've got Gemini on the second house cusp, curiosity is always going to be key. So you just don't want to get stuck or stagnant when it comes to money. So for those Gemini risings out there, of which I am part of the Gemini Rising Club, I'm so looking forward to this. I am done with 12 house transits, but for all of the Gemini risings out there, 2025 and beyond does bring some of the more dynamic and exciting shifts because of where the outer planets are moving through the 1st, the 11th, and the 9th. Really nice combinations. And of course, Jupiter in Cancer as a nice little cream on the top. So after 7 years of Uranus in your 12th house, you've had a lot of internal disruptions, and change. So if you think about your inner world, your inner landscape, and what you know about yourself, and how is that different today than what it was, say, from 2018 when Uranus first moved in there in the March. So all of that sort of stillness, stagnance, um, is going to kind of come out now. So if you feel that maybe in some respects life has felt a bit still, a bit dull, obviously there's external movements in other areas of life, but when it comes to your inner landscape, a lot's changed. And so now it's okay, all of those changes now have to kind of get manifested in who you're becoming. So strap yourself in if you're a Gemini rising. You may have already got quite a sense of what this might look like, and that's because Jupiter has been in your ascendant since May of 2024. We'll be there until June. So now, if you're not already, get curious about who you are. Start learning about yourself, what you want. Be open to experiences that may stretch you or challenge you, or even uh, expand on your philosophies about what life might be like. And for Gemini risings, do keep in mind that Jupiter also rules the 10th and the 7th. So career and relationship planet is in your house. So whether you're having to really strive professionally, maybe it's the relationship in your life or lack thereof, whatever the case may be, coming into your first house, and you're being stretched or learned or expanded in some way. It's like taking all of that wisdom and knowledge and then becoming increasingly authentic around who you are with Uranus. So experiment, stretch your boundaries, learn more about yourself, but most importantly, embrace newness and novelty. So if you find yourself normally saying no to a particular thing, maybe this is say yes. Um, Also, to, if this is even possible, try and stay grounded. I mean, I know it sounds like a massive oxymoron, but this is going to be a very, very electric transit and so heady and so busy and so kind of intangible at the same time. If you have some significant Saturn or a bit of Capricorn or some Earth placements, obviously you have some Earth houses at least, it might be helpful to anchor yourself in some way, shape, or form. But life, all of a sudden, if you're Gemini rising, is going to speed right up. I know myself, I've been kind of whinging for change for a little while, but also being secretly grateful that I'm just going to enjoy the slow pace while I've still got it. So things are going to shift for Gemini placements faster than, I mean, I know they're going to change fast, but I think they're going to change at a rate that's probably a little bit unimaginable for any of us at this point. And that's probably a blanket statement for all of the Gemini, Uranus Gemini situations. So if you're Gemini rising like myself, let me know. Are you as excited as me? Alrighty, so Cancer. So Cancer is going to go through what us Geminis have just been through. And this is going to be a transit, I think, that's going to really, Cancer has that hard exoskeleton being the crab. Um, this transit's kind of going to crack you open from the inside. So everything that you've walled up, everything that you protect yourself with the exoskeleton is going to be slowly chipped away at over the next 7 years. So explore your internal world, get to know it, get to know yourself. The recesses of your psyche, of your mind, are going to be, cracked open and exposed. You might need more time alone during this period. That might look like regular weekends away, time off the grid. You might choose to have one day of the week where you are not contactable digitally. Maybe it's a few nights a week, whatever works for you. You might enjoy meditation, prayer, some form of spirituality that helps you kind of get out of your head a little bit and connect to something a little higher. I find with Uranus through the 12th house, which is, I can attest to this, is it really can fine tune any of your psychic senses, your instincts and your intuition, and of course, your dream world. So I would recommend, because you have Gemini in the 12th, which is an air sign, so very linked to the mind. Anything that helps you de-stress, defrag, and enable sleep is going to be really, really important for you. So you're going to want to avoid getting too stressed, too worried, or fall trapped to anxious patterns of thinking. So with Jupiter there now, you might find that that's being increased or expanded somewhat, but it also give you the knowledge and the wisdom of what you need to do in terms of sorting that out. So that's something to keep in mind if you have Cancer rising. So the next sign is Leo. So Leo is going to have Uranus touring the 11th house. So this is a bit of a find your tribe vibe. So you will experience changes to your friendships, your groups, your networks, and your communities. You might even find as changes occur, loyalties get tested. You may feel some friends are testing your loyalty. You may be finding that your loyalty is being tested. And this can be as you're going through processes of change and experimentation and newness. Some people get their noses pushed out of joint when you're doing things that you wouldn't normally do, spending time with people you wouldn't normally spend time with. That's a little bit on the negative, of course, but there is going to be some fresh blood through your social circles. And this is going to increase your visibility. So that could be just in terms of maybe it's a group or a community that you're involved with. Maybe it's to do with your industry and the kind of work that you do. The 11th house is also the house of Jupiter, of benefits and blessings. It's the house of good spirit. So you might find that there will be sudden changes in your luck and your general fortune. That can be for the good and that can not be for the good, at least seemingly at the time. Now, as a Leo rising, you do like to be seen in your best light. So this can be a time of disruption in terms of how you see, how you're seen, how you want to be seen, and what that looks like. So Uranus can kind of really change a little bit to do with audiences. If you have an online presence, whether you're like me with a astrologer channel on YouTube, or maybe you're a musician with you're doing gigs around town, whatever the case may be, if people are looking at you, that is going to be changing. But it's still an exciting transit. You're going to probably find friendships are going to be a little bit of a revolving door, but you're going to be really hungry for people who are like-minded, share your curiosity and your general lust for life. So if you're Virgo and Virgo rising, this is a big one because Uranus is coming over your 10th house, which has mainly to do with career, your true north, your life path, your overall direction. Now, this initial phase of Uranus in Gemini from July to November, I think it has the potentiality to be a bit sticky. The reason being is because you'll have the South Node in your sign on this initial ingress. I'm just talking about 2025 for the meantime. By the April to July of next year, you'll have that again. But after July of 2026, you'll be free of that South Nodal influence. So really sort of the first 12 months of Jupiter in Gemini sands its retrogradation back into Taurus, it might be a loss before there's a win or a gain. You might discover that with Uranus going through, sorry, the South Node going through your first, that you're finding that you're not enjoying the changes that are occurring in your career. Maybe you feeling that deeper desire or that deeper need for a path that's more authentic to who you're becoming. You might let go of who you think you need to be, and therefore that gets reflected into your career or your public reputation in some way. So I think for the first 12 months of Uranus in Gemini, it's going to feel a little bit out of whack in terms of your work, pathway, identity. It's sort of going to feel a little bit out of alignment. So I would be mindful of that. And of course, Jupiter is in your 10th house now, giving you lots of blessings and benefits, hopefully. So you might want to recognize that that may not necessarily, well, obviously, it's not going to last forever because it'll move into Cancer. But sometimes when things are going really good, we sometimes don't think they could not. Now, I don't want that to sound like a really terrible thing for Virgo risings because, it doesn't have to be. But Uranus just wants you to really reach for an authentic path. So it just may mean showing up and as who you want to be at work instead of being that person that's always helping or always sacrificing your needs for the good of other people. It might be okay for you to go, well, yeah, no, I actually don't want to do that. This is what I want to do. Or maybe you just want to shift and change within a company or within a role or try new things. So that might be the first 12 months of Uranus and Gemini is about trying new things, seeing what fits as you're changing. And then, of course, the career path is changing as well. So that's a little bit of a overview if you have Virgo rising. It'll be an interesting one, I think, for all of the mutables. Now for Libra rising, so Libra is, I think it's exciting having a ninth house Uranus transit. If you're not studying astrology yet, that's a textbook transit for that. But it is really going to be a 7-year journey where the world is your oyster. So we're talking about travel, airports and passports, religion, philosophy, spirituality and faith, study, publishing, and all of those sorts of things that are about meaning and purpose in your life. So the world is going to be your oyster for the next little bit. and experiment with what feels authentic for you. I think for a lot of Libra risings, this is probably going to be more to do with your worldview and your perspectives on the world, and of the meaning of life can really shift. When Uranus was in Aquarius was when I first started studying astrology. And of course, that really reshaped my worldview. So hence why I opened with start that. But a Uranus transit is often a lot of people do discover astrology under some form of a Uranus transit. So the ninth house is also linked to the idea of aspirations. And this might be, what do you actually aspire to? So you might find that what you once wanted out of life may no longer be what you want. So that kind of relates to the idea of the bucket list. So if you decided that you always wanted to do X, Y, Z, but then Uranus comes along and then you go, yeah, but now I want to do ABC. The challenge might be, do you do all the things or do you go with the direction that feels the most authentic? Either way, it is about satisfying your curiosity for life, living life a little larger and more authentic. So it is very much about uh, kind of sticking the middle finger up to um, whomever or whatever has held you back. The ninth house is just kind of getting on that plane and going where you want to go, living your life very authentically. And of course, as the ninth house transit happens, it is going to be making that trine aspect to Libra, the first house for you. So it's really going to affect who you are as well. So those kind of readjustments, whether you go to university and study something, whether you um, take on some kind of religious journey or you just want to be a nomad for a period of time, learning more about life and traveling, it's really going to shape you and change you. So it's a very exciting time to have a Uranus transit in the ninth. My life changed a lot actually during that one. So it was feels like quite a while ago now when I think, oh, we're in Gemini already. So um, there we have it. So, Scorpio. So, a little less exciting, sorry to say, but this is going to be, for the most part, a bit of a financial cycle. And that's going to be about financial freedom, first and foremost, gaining financial independence, or even financial separation. So, for some Scorpios, this might mean divorce or a separation from a partner or a business partner, that sort of dismantling of finances. It could also mean that your financial situation changes dramatically because you've married or you've, got in a serious relationship with someone. But there is that sense that your joint finances, whether it's with an individual, a business, a bank, is going to change. Obviously, Jupiter's there now, so you might want to think about how money has been, debts, taxes, loans, other people's money basically has been impacting you. And also to your longer term financial security might come into play here, which Uranus may prompt you to take some sudden action. So you might get to a point where you realize, oh, I'm not going to have enough to retire on, so I need to make some bold moves with money, take some drastic action or sudden changes, as an example. You might enter the stock market more aggressively, invest more aggressively, or, a whole lot of things. Now, this could also be a signature of an inheritance that comes your way, and that might suddenly change your scenario with money, your situation with money. Um, Look for any money making, money saving, money investing, or paying down debt. Any new opportunities that might do something different, a little bit outside the box for you. Get curious about how you can improve your financial portfolio and all those sorts of things to do with money. At a deeper and more psychological type of level, this might be a experience where you lift the lid on some past trauma, some fears or phobias. Uranus, as I mentioned at the start of the video in the introduction when I introduced him, it's about, shaking off the shackles, stealing fire from the gods, the myth of Prometheus. So sometimes it means that in order to be liberated, firstly, there's a price to pay. And so sometimes in the eighth house, it might be some of the traumas or the mental health stuff that we need to go through the process of liberating ourselves from, which can be initially painful, but ultimately, you know, free us from whatever holds us back. So any of those blockages, the traumas, the things that are really blocking you from manifesting, whether that is money, ideal relationship, the intimacy piece with that. This is a time to take a deep dive into all of that stuff, the entanglements you share with other people, financial, emotional, physical, all the intimacy things need to be reinvented for Scorpio risings. Now, again, being a mutable rising for Sagittarius, this is exciting. It's your relationship status that's going to suddenly change, possibly this year and into 2026 and beyond. Now, whether it's a change to your relationship status, so maybe single to coupled, coupled to single, whatever it may be, you can expect it to change. That's what Uranus brings. Your desires around relationships may change. What you thought you once wanted, maybe you no longer do. Your needs, your wants will also shift as well. So if you've been kind of kicking tires in relationships, maybe thinking, um, uh, you know, it will be time to change that. Whatever the status quo is of your current attitudes, your thoughts, your ideas around relationships, they need to change. The idea of this is about discovering what being authentic in relationship looks like for you. So that might mean just dating a whole bunch of people for a while until you figure out what it is you want. Maybe you're in a relationship and it's not really cutting the mustard in the way you might like. So this would encourage you to bring in some more experimental, some more spontaneous energy to understand that you can be kind of individuated in a relationship, but together at the same time. So it can feel rocky in love, in relationships when Uranus is there. And for some, that might mean the end of the road. For some, that might mean we just need to patch up those potholes in the road. And for others, it's about finding what we really desire, what it means to truly be authentic in a important and significant relationship with another human being. So in the meantime, with Jupiter, your ruling planet there, you're probably already learning about this and starting to expand on the ideas and concept of relationships, learning more about them in general or learning more about your partner if you're in one. So at a more kind of a broader scale, Uranus in your seventh house is asking you to liberate yourself from all the old relationship stuff, from any stories you tell yourself, any of those self-fulfilling prophecies or truths that you buy into in relationships. Uranus in Gemini is going to want to clear all that away. And so you can then install new and more authentic stories you're telling yourself about what it means to be in a relationship. So it's actually pretty exciting, even though it could be a little rocky and bumpy in patches. Now, Capricorn. So this will be disruption to your day-to-day routines in the sixth house. This is going to be a little bit difficult. I find Uranus in the sixth house natally, it's hard to get routines. It's hard to get daily rhythms that hold water, so to speak. And being Capricorn rising, sort of heavy Saturn, you do like a certain level of rhythm and routine. And so Uranus is going to make that a little bit difficult to maintain. So this could be your day-to-day habits. The way you spend your time is going to feel a little frantic or in need of changing. So it's going to be a very busy period, not being able to keep your feet on the ground so much. So do keep that wiggle room in your schedule. Don't sort of fit everything in too tightly or too strictly. It could also relate to your work situation. So the sixth house is also a house of work, like hard labor. So it might mean doing the mundane of your life differently. So if the last thing you feel like doing after a hard day of work is general domestics, can you either delegate that to a family member or delete it entirely and just hire help? Technology may make your life easier. So whether that is utilizing different technological advances to make the mundane of your life better. And you're also something to keep in mind that with the increase of technology during this transit, do keep your eye on how that may impact your work. So what I mean by that is if AI or robotics take over what you do, and leaves you redundant and not, basically a machine is taking over your job. If you're in an industry where that could be possible or it looks possible, you want to start preparing yourself for that before Uranus arrives. Of course, the sixth house is a house of health. Okay, well, it's a house of sickness, essentially, but obviously, we can try and circumvent any problems with that awareness. So now that Uranus is coming into this space, you want to be aware around things to do with stress, mental health stuff with Gemini, and just not getting yourself so busy that you're burning the candle at both ends. Because when you try and be everything to everyone, you end up being nothing to no one. So if you are Aquarius rising, again, another exciting transit, I think, if you're an Aquarius, and this is going to really maybe help take some weight off Pluto. But definitely it's going to be the dating, the mating, and the relating life is going to really be the transformative experience, particularly in 2025 and in 2026. So you might need to get a little bit experimental in when it comes to your dating life or, the other stuff that happens in the fifth house, um, the mating side of things. So you might become a little bit more liberated in that way. You're wanting to spice things up, whether it's with an existing partner, someone new. It's about excitement and freshness and novelty. The fifth house is so much about what do you want to do with yourself once the bills are paid and the jobs are done. What do you do with your time? So Uranus is going to create spontaneity in this area of life. You might find that the things that you used to do, you don't like doing anymore, and you want to try things that are fresh or different or exciting. And that's going to be a little bit in contradiction to what it means to be an Aquarius rising, because you're fixed. So now you're starting to get curious, more open, more experimental, having more fun. So it can be a really nice time, even just for more joy and fun with children. Some Aquarius risings are going to find that a sudden yet welcome pregnancy. Maybe it's sudden and not sure if it's a welcome pregnancy and everything in between. So, keep that in mind, particularly with the transformative influence of Pluto in the first. If you're single and you don't want to be, get yourself out there, whether it's online, in real life. In real life is always going to be better. If you're partnered and bored, spice it up. It is about freshness, novelty, and newness. So embrace spontaneity and be sure to have fun, even if you don't really feel like it. And that's what's really going to change your life in all the exciting, fresh, and new ways. Now, for Pisces, it's all going to happen in the home zone. So the living situation, your domestic situation, family dynamics. Oftentimes, what I see with Pisces, or sorry, Uranus in the fourth, I should say, is that home life has a bit of intangibility to it. So, say, for example, if you're renting and you have to move every time the lease expires, or there's just a flux in your home life. Maybe if you're building a home and you have to rent for a period of time. Um, if you've had your home destroyed by some of the recent natural disasters, well, natural in inverted commas disasters that have been around, um, you might have to go into a temporary dwelling until you can reestablish yourself. So there's a lot of possibilities there. There's can be renovations, relocations. Um, there might be relatives coming to stay with you for a period of time. Maybe there's some people who live with you, whether it's children or relatives, they leave and they go elsewhere if they've been with you for a while. So there will be sort of revolving door energy, whether that's the people who actually walk through your door or your whole domestic life feels a little uncertain or unstable. I've also seen people who have transits through the fourth that they decide to do house sitting. So I've known a few people actually that are permanent house sitters. So they don't have a fixed location, but they're kind of always in transit. So that might be something to think about. And even on a more of a mindset level, this might be a choice to live a more authentic life or to live differently. So let's just say, for example, you're just living in the suburbs in a particular city, just a regular life, but you decide that you might want some kind of change. And maybe you want to move to a coastal location or move to the country or live off grid a little bit or just do something that's a little bit whatever the norm is in your home zone, you change. So you might take on a flatmate or a housemate, or you might become somebody else's. So there will be some different energy coming through your fourth house. You might find that you're really ready to change what home life looks like. So maybe you decide to buy a house, to sell a house, to have a partner move in with you, or be married and move in together. Whatever the case may look like, there will be some very exciting changes on the home front. But I think it would be wise to maybe prepare for instability. Maybe you move overseas for a season or a year or 2 years. Or you go through a period of time where you're maybe backpacking around and with no fixed address globally for a period of time. So anything and everything can definitely happen on the home front. And so that's something that Pisces risings have to look forward to. And you might start to get a sense of that even with Jupiter, your ruling planet there now. And then, of course, once Uranus gets there, come July. So, just sweating here in Queensland heat. But anyway, that's the tour of Uranus through the houses for now. I'm pretty excited about the changes. I'd love to hear what house it's happening for you and what you are maybe starting to get a bit of an inkling about, especially with Jupiter already there. What changes can you anticipate, expect, and prepare for before we get there? All right, that's it. I'm done. And bye for now. And I'll see you in the next video.